Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are diving into one of the most audacious, most brilliant schemes in history. We're talking about a heist, pulled off in broad daylight, where the crazy part is, not a single law was broken.
So let's start right there with that question. How do you rob the system without breaking a single law? Because the answer to that gets to the absolute heart of a plan so clever, it completely changed the world of betting, forever.
All right, so our story begins here. We're in Yellowstone, Ireland, June 26, 1975. It's just a small, pretty unassuming horse racing track out in the countryside. To almost everyone there, it was a day just like any other. But for one man, well, he was about to make history.
Think about a heist. You're probably picturing guns, getaway cars, maybe some masks, right? Well, forget all that. For this plan, all it took was one man, one horse, and one public payphone. And those three things, they were all that was needed to bring the entire Irish betting industry to its knees.
Okay, let's really set the scene here. Imagine it. Spectators are all gathering, watching the horses, placing their bets, but the mastermind? The guy behind this whole thing, he's nowhere near the stands. Nope, he's tucked away, hiding in a gorse bush, watching everything, and I mean everything, through a pair of binoculars.
So who is this guy hiding in the bushes? Well, his name was Barney Curley. And believe me, Barney Curley was a man with a reputation. This whole elaborate plan, it was far, far from his first clever scheme.
You know, Barney learned his trade really young. When he was just 15, he actually outsmarted his own father. His dad was a greyhound trainer who ran these little cons. But Barney, he took his dad's plan, gave it a little twist, and turned it into a win for himself. It just goes to show, even back then, he had this incredible knack for seeing angles and weaknesses that nobody else could spot. Fast forward to 1975, though, and Barney Curley wasn't that clever teenager anymore. Years of businesses that went bust and a string of bad bets had left him with this absolutely crushing debt. We're talking £12,000, which, in today's money, that's a huge chunk of change, well into the six figures.
So he was completely backed into a corner. And this is the crucial part, you see. This whole thing wasn't just about a clever gamble for the thrill of it. Oh no. This was an act of pure, stone-cold desperation. He had to succeed. There was no other way out. It was either this or face total financial ruin.
So what do you do when your back's against the wall? Well, if you're Barney Curley, you come up with a brilliant blueprint. And I mean, this thing was a masterclass in finding and exploiting all the little cracks in the system. It all came down to 4 key steps. And here's the plan. First, you find the perfect horse, one that's secretly a star but looks terrible on paper. Second, you game the handicap system. You basically ruin its public record to get amazing odds. Third, and this is key, you pick a racetrack with one single exploitable communication flaw. And finally, step 4, execution. You coordinate this massive nationwide betting blitz at the very last second. It's just perfect. Now, to really get why this was so brilliant, you've got to understand a little something called handicap racing. The whole point of it is to level the playing field, right? The better horses get disadvantages, like carrying extra weight, to make the race more of a toss-up. But Barney's plan? It was to flip that whole idea on its head. He was going to make the system treat his very good horse like a very bad one. And that horse's name was Yellow Sam. Now, Yellow Sam was secretly a really strong horse, especially on firm ground. But Barney, he made sure his official record looked like an absolute disaster. He'd run him in races on soft ground that he knew the horse hated, so of course Yellow Sam would lose. And just like that, the official handicappers and all the bookies just wrote him off as a total dud. And that was the whole point. By making a great horse look terrible, Barney got these incredible long shot odds, 20-1. Just think about that. A 20-1 payout means for every single pound you bet, the bookies have to pay you back 20. That's the jackpot. All right, so the horse is ready, the odds are locked in. Let's go back to race day at Yellowstone, because now the final and maybe the most delicate part of the whole plan was about to kick off. And it all hinged on this. At the Yellowstone track, there was only one public telephone line, just one. And that single phone was the only way for the bookies at the track to talk to the rest of Ireland and find out where all the big money was going. You can see where this is headed, right?
And here's the masterstroke. A friend of Barney's, a guy named Benny, gets into that single phone booth and just occupies it. For 25 crucial minutes right before the race, he puts on this incredible, heart-wrenching performance, wailing into the phone, "My dear aunt is on her deathbed, I must speak with her," and he absolutely refused to hang up.
So while Benny is putting on his Oscar-worthy performance, something else is happening all across Ireland. A perfectly timed betting storm is unleashed. We're talking hundreds of Barney's people, all armed with cash, hitting betting shops at the exact same moment, all placing bets on Yellow Sam. And because the phone line is busy, the bookies at the track, they are completely in the dark. They have no idea what's coming. And then, the race is on. From his little hiding spot in the gorse bush, Barney watches his secret weapon just do his thing. Yellow Sam, this horse that everyone thought was a total no-hoper, he doesn't just win. He absolutely flies past the competition, winning by 2.5 lengths. It wasn't even close. Okay, so now for the fallout. The second Yellow Sam crosses that finish line, it's just pure chaos. The bookies at the track, the ones who had been cut off from the outside world, finally realized what had just hit them. And what hit them was a bill for £300,000.
That was the total payout the bookmakers across Ireland owed from a single race. It was absolutely unprecedented.
And just to put that into perspective for you in today's money, that's about $3.5 million. Barney Curley had just pulled off one of the biggest betting heists in history, period.
You can bet the bookies were furious. They paid him all right, but they did it in 108 sacks filled with small bills, just to be difficult. But, it didn't matter. Barney hadn't broken a single law. He had simply and brilliantly outsmarted the entire system by using its own rules against it.
I mean, this one single event literally forced the industry to change its rules to stop it from ever happening again. But get this, it wasn't even the last time Barney proved his genius. Decades later, when he was over 70 years old, he pulled off a couple more major coups. The man became a legend, a kind of Robin Hood of racing, remembered as much for his schemes as he was for his charity work later in life.
So in the end, Barney Curley's story leaves us with a fascinating question, doesn't it? Was he a genius gambler or a master manipulator? He lived and operated in that murky gray area between brilliant strategy and, well, deception. And his legacy kind of forces us to ask ourselves, where exactly does one end and the other begin?